running here yet? Anything yet? I'm live. All right, so doing something a little different today. In an effort to stretch my own boundaries and hopefully share some information for some other folks out there, I'm going to be using the Presonus StudioOne digital audio workstation to come up with a new techno track. So let me switch over to that here. Okay, so I'm going to create an empty song here. Let's see, 44.1 is fine, 24 bits, time base, bars, song length. Yeah, about 6 minutes is cool. Tempo. Yeah, let's turn that up a little bit more. Let's go with 132 today. Feeling like making this one a little more brisk. Okay, brand new, empty project. So I will start by adding a few down here in the lower right corner. We go to the browse window, instruments, and click this, and this will show us what our instruments are. So impact is our drum machine. We can just drag and drop that over. I'm going to go ahead and do 2 of those because we can load up different kits with some different sounds on each of them. And let's see. Throw this Mai Tai synthesizer over there. Haven't really messed with this one yet. I've only done a few preliminary things in StudioOne. I did one track last week, just kind of getting the feel for it. And one of my friends, Shen, he has been using StudioOne, and so I have a little bit of help, a little bit of experience, sort of helping him navigate. But I'm still learning where a lot of the tools and everything are. So yeah, so we'll start with those instruments for now, and then I like to hide the browse window once that gets going. Pull up the mix window here. So we have, so I have our 4 instruments right now, and then our master fader. Let's see, what else do we need? We need some effects. The way I'm not 100% cool with the way StudioOne does this, but I'll load up effects channels next. I like to get everything sort of laid out here. So we'll add an effects channel. We're actually going to add 1, 2, 3, 4. Add 4 effects channels. I'll have 2 different reverbs, a delay, and then a parallel process. And so down here we'll just name these. I'll go with small reverb. Click on that, big reverb, delay, and then parallel processing. Parallel processing can be distortion, compression, any other sort of effects, but I usually like to have some pretty heavy-handed parallel compression with a little distortion. I'm only going to be using the native plugins for StudioOne today, not any third-party or anything that you can buy. This is just strictly what came out of the DAW download. So yeah, let's see. So for small reverb, first off, I will take, where are we at? Instruments, effects. So we'll switch to effects. And I'm going to put an EQ at the top of each of these effects chains. Just the Pro EQ is fine. Basically, I'm going to filter out any bass frequencies before they even get to any of these effects. Parallel. Parallel might maybe not so much, maybe just roll off the extreme low end, but keep it going there. And then reverb. There's only a couple of reverbs here, so let's just do the, I'll just throw this mix verb on the small reverb. What do we got? Drum bus, small. Sure, let's use that since it's mostly going to be drum effects. And these are just presets. We'll tweak it when we get moving here. And then I'll throw a room reverb on big reverb, and then we'll select like a bigger hall out of that one. So we'll just go up here, default, sound hall. I did use this parking garage reverb. I thought that one was kind of cool. Let's go with large tunnel. See how that one sounds. We'll, we'll get there. Our time for delay. Let's see, where's our delay? Over here. Analog delay, beat delay. I'll do a beat delay because I like having a sort of synced. Synced beat delay. That is not what I thought it was. Maybe we'll do analog delay instead. Yeah, I'll stick with beat delay. Not gonna mess around with this too much. And then for our parallel effects, like I said, we'll have a mixing. Over here, we'll do some compression. Where's my compressor? Oh, dynamics, not mixing. Yeah, we'll just throw a basic compressor on there. This is functional. Like I said, I've messed with StudioOne a little bit. Obviously, the StudioOne DAW is pretty friendly with regards to VSTs and everything. So you can, if you have your third-party plugs, that's fine. I'm just kind of going through quickly here and doing some basic included plugins. And then where's our distortion? Distortion. There we go. Bit crusher, and I like this red light. It's not sure what it's supposed to be modeling, but it's pretty fun. It can be really heavy-handed or not so much. So we'll start it pretty low there. So basically, what I have here is my 4 instrument tracks, and this is just the start. We'll probably add some stuff. Definitely add some bussing and some effects, or possibly some other effects later. What might be a good idea here now is to, well, save. But we can go up here to save as template. So now I can just say title. This is just going to be run as Techno quarantine. So that's going to be my template. So basically I can come to StudioOne, open this template anytime I want to start a new track, and I've got a bunch of my dirty work, so to speak, already done. I don't have to reinvent the wheel. Templates are amazing. They're worth taking a few minutes of time. My normal DAW of choice is Logic Pro, and I have probably 15 or 20 templates that I've built over the last couple of years in there. Yeah, you don't need to recreate the wheel if you're using the same plugins or the same basic effects routing every time you go. So build a template, do yourself a favor. Alrighty, so let's go up here to our first drum machine, to our first track. So we can click on a little keyboard here, and that'll bring up our drum pads, and then we can say, let's see, how do we load up a drum kit on here? impact. All right, I'm just going to go through and let's see. Intense techno. Are we feeling intense today? Let's be intense. All right, so we'll just load up this intense techno. Kind of punchy. Don't like that snare. Claps functional. There's the kick I like. All right, so now that we have, so I'll definitely be using this kick, so E1, we'll remember that. Wait a minute. Why does my mouse keep running away? Something about this hat seems a little tinny, but we can EQ that out. The cool thing about the Impact drum machine sampler here is that when we go to our mix view, it has this all broken out into individual tracks, so we can put separate effects and EQ and everything on each particular sound independently. Whereas the controls over to the right of the Impact will affect the whole kit. So I will start by drawing in just a little 1-bar loop here, and then go down here to the edit window, and this brings up our piano roll. I'm about ready to unplug this mouse and just use the trackpad because it's driving me nuts already. Alright, so here we go, kick 2, and then we can just draw in, sorry, we have to go up here, grab our pencil tool. What's going on here, dude? Oh, I have to select the clip in the track lane up here. That's what I was missing. All right, it's kick 2. Grab a pencil tool. Draw in kicks. And then this bar that I drew at the very top here also appears in our mix window down here. That's our looper. So we'll go ahead and turn on the loop. Press play, and there's our kick. Now we can sort of tune this a bit. Sometimes I start with drums, sometimes I start with a loop or another idea and then tune the drums around it, but let's see. I feel like that decay is a little long, so let's our amp section, we can pull that decay down a little bit, and then we'll grunge it up there a little. Yep. Activate the filter. There we go. Pretty severe. Yeah, we don't want that much. Little extra crunch is cool, but not too much. Just add some of those upper harmonics to help it punch through the mix. All right, so there's our kick. That was our hat. All right, so bottom here, over windows are velocity. So let's see, where's that other hat? So those are basic. Okay, and this little arrow here will collapse our zoom window. Let's take this browse off since I'm working on the whole menu now. All right, so now we'll scroll over. We'll select this whole window, copy it, and then we're going to paste it out a couple of times here. So now it's 4 bars. Copy 4 bars, paste that out a few times. There may be a quicker way of doing this in StudioOne. If there is, I don't know it, but this method gets me up there pretty quickly. So basically what I'm doing here is I'm going to copy and paste this loop for the entire duration of the track. And then we'll do what I've heard some people call subtractive arrangement after that. So once we come up with our loop idea, you know, the meat of our main track. So we'll copy this out to 193 bars, which puts us at like 5.5 minutes. Basic techno track, pretty standard fare there. All right, so now I have our kick and hat looped and set up for the remainder of the track. All right, so now let's go down to our other impact drum, and we'll pull up browse and we'll find a kit for this one. See, kit, I like to mix it up. I don't always like to have just the pure, you know, like techno kits are far more capable than just doing techno. And let's just get crazy here and say classic garage. We'll load up something there, see what we got. Might be kind of fun to mess with. What's another percussion there? Any other? Oh, here we go. Trying to find a bass sound. Often I like to use, maybe I'll find a different kit. I like to use toms as for my bass lines, just a single low tom. So maybe, you know, maybe a classic garage kit wasn't the best choice for that. What do we got that would have some toms in it? Modular electro kit. Let's try this one. Okay. All right. Not feeling that either. Tense tech? What the heck? Let's see what we got. A little backspin action there. All right, I kind of like that stab, so I might keep this kit and we'll use that for all right. The mouse is going away, driving me nuts. I like that it has the loops in here, but in general, I'm not a big fan of using loops. That might be a cool tune. Some of these little effects are pretty good. Hmm. All right, well, I'll just monkey around with this kick 2, see what we can get out of this. So again, we'll zoom in here a little bit. Oops, not that whole thing. just this track. There we go. All right, so what's that? So kick 2. Like an acoustic kick drum sample, so let's filter off some of this top end here. And we can maybe drive it up a little. There we go. Now, as you guys can see, I'm doing this whole thing in earbuds, so you know, the mix might be a little off. I'll sort of polish that up in studio monitors later, but I'm just trying to get through the process of getting all the pieces together and laid out and arranged and get my bass effects down. My basic effects down, not just the mix. Punch. Bassline here. I didn't put any of the bass notes on top of the kicks. I like to have the interplay between those two elements, and so one, it just kind of gives a more moving rhythmic feel, and two, we're not fighting for the same sonic space since they're both in the low bass register. All right, so we can edit back to our mix window. Now we'll do the same process here where we're gonna whoops, a little too far. So we'll cut and paste this Tom. And then once we have a good block, yeah, we can copy and paste this. out for the duration of our track. And like I said, this will come into play later when we get to the arrangement mode. All right, so we've got our 5.5 minutes worth of bass and kick. So, all right, so here's another function that if anybody that's watching knows how to fix this, please leave a comment or jump in the chat or whatever. Every other DAW I've ever worked with, which includes like Cakewalk, Sonar, Pro Tools, Logic, Ableton, you can hit enter and it'll take you back to the beginning of the transport, but not StudioOne. You have to physically come down here, click go back to start, and then start. All right, so we've got our kick and our bass. Our hats in there. All right, so now let's talk about adding a synth groove in this tune. All right, so next window. Mojito. So let's. All right, so now we can go to our piano roll. Dusty drum. No thanks. I'm just looking for a starting point of something here. Cheap home organ. Can't say I'm feeling that one either. All right, fat bass. So while I'm using a bass instrument here, I already have a kick and this tom that are occupying the sub bass area of the frequency spectrum. So when I'm picking out, or when I'm going to program my bass line, I'm actually not going to program it as far down. Like I don't need to add any more low frequencies. There's plenty that are going to be in the tune. So I want this to be sort of the low mid stuff. Let's just throw a couple of notes in here and see, and then we'll screw around with it while it's looping and see what we can come up with. It helps if I turn on the loop while trying to loop. All right, once again, go back to the so it looks like I kind of put my little acid bass line here in G minor. In terms of keys, let's see, mix, that's what I'm after. I just want to acid bass, just so I know what that one is. All right. Same thing here. We'll copy this whole bassline section, paste it out. All right, so have kick hat, sub bass, acid bass. Now all we really need to do is add like maybe one more sort of melodic sound, like a chord stab or something, and then the rest of it's just going to be effects and automation. In terms of like elements that define techno, I mean, it's obviously heavily repetitive, driving darker, and it's more on the compositionally minimal side, like where we're not having a bunch of melodic elements that are doing giant changes. I mean, obviously their rules are meant to be broken and you can do that, and it's fun to have tracks that do that every now and then, but in terms of DJ sets, like I don't want to listen to a DJ where every single track is going up and down and up and down and up and down. I'd rather listen to like 4 or 5 tracks that kind of ease through a mood and then have something that does something crazy, you know, kind of build the suspense a little before you release those big moments out there. All right, so I'm just gonna rearrange these a little since I've got those done. Let's go with the Mai Tai synths. Oops, open back up there. All right, now we'll find I'll do some sort of pad on this. Joy pad. Imperial drone. Let's give that a try. So, same thing. Now for the pad, I am going to stretch this one out over like 4 bars instead of just 1 bar. And I might have like one subtle change in there. So we'll go down to our window here. We'll draw our loop out to 4 bars. What did I say? It was in G minor. Oops, no. Go down. There we go. So G's our root note, so I'm just going to extend that through this whole thing here. All right, so that's kind of a nice little evolving thing. we'll build this chord over the span of a little space. We're not going to hit it all at once, and then it'll kind of come in and out in different ways too. So where's the rest of our triad? D. Again, this is just a simple G minor triad here. So I'll rewind that. All right, not too bad. Think of what else we can add to this guy to spruce it up, but also in the spirit of techno, I don't want to get too crazy with it. So what I'm going to do for this one is our techno track's not going to start with a pad, so I'm going to cut that and then we'll paste it here later in the arrangement. Like, that pad's not going to come in until, like, let's say bar 81. Yeah, and then we'll paste it there. And then we can paste a few iterations of it. Let's see, 2, 3. And then on this fourth one, make sure we're not all selected. I don't want the whole thing. Whoops, undo. All right, so I just have this last section. And then what we'll do on this last iteration of this pad here is we'll transpose, or I guess we don't even have to transpose. We can just add another G. There we go. Add another G to make that sort of, nope, you go all the way out there. And then I'll have this top one, that's not what entirely what I was trying, there we go. I'll have that fade out a little earlier, so this one is going to sound a little different. It'll shift down a little. Let's rewind that just a bit. And then we'll take this D. Instead of the eraser, and then we'll transpose this D down an octave too, just to make it sad. All right, so we have that pad situation set up. So now we can go back up here to get it off. All right, so now I can copy these pads again, and we'll bring them back in at 129. So a more bigger picture, conceptual thing for producers and such. If you're working in a DAW and doing things in sort of a linear scale like this, you'll learn quickly what all your divisions of 8 measures are. So, 1 through 8, and then 9, 17, 25, 33, 41, 49, 57, 65, etc. And you'll, the more experience you get with producing and getting yourself familiar, you'll learn where the track sort of movements happen. Now, I'm probably going to get flamed for saying this, and I don't have an example right here exactly, but one thing that I do in my Logic templates that I make for production is I make an arrangement template. So I'll take a track, let's see, does this have MIDI tracks? Yeah, this doesn't have MIDI tracks, so I can't do it the way I do it in Logic. At any rate, I have the basic elements of the track, like kick, bass line, whatever melodic part there is, whether it's, you know, a chord stab or an acid line or whatever. And I have those sort of mapped out. And how I come up with those arrangements is basically I listen to other tracks and copy what my favorite producers are doing, or what, I don't want to say hit tracks, but like tracks that I like and tracks that work well and are DJ friendly. There's a lot of things that are really standard. Like for most dance tracks, house techno, drum and bass, you know, down tempo, whatever. Like the first minute of the track is your intro. That's for the DJ to mix out of the last one and into the next one. So we're not going to slam 8 different things at the start of a track that, you know, that we can't hear because it throws off the DJ. And the whole point of this sort of, you know, underground dance music thing is that it's kind of modular, and it's, we're building like puzzle pieces for the DJs to put together. At least that's my approach to it. I'm not trying to make like every single track be the most epic thing out there. Like I just want to have some more functional tools that have my own style to it. When I do DJ my own tracks. Most of the time I play live on all hardware stuff. You see me looking over here, that's because that's where all my hardware is. But yeah, okay, so we have some basic drums, bass line, and a little pad section here. It's decent groove. All right, so let's get into effects for a little bit here. Let's go up here. I'll just loop this pad section so that we're working with the meat of our track, and we'll sort of dial in some of our sound here, and then we can go through and slice and dice some more arrangement. All right, so open my mix window back up. So let's see, where's hi-hat? There you are. So first thing I want to do for this hi-hat, whoops, I threw the pan off. Right now everything is centered. I do pan stuff around a little bit. Again, a lot of like club and party sound systems are running mono, or I know some of the clubs that I've been in, the rooms are set up where there's no way a stereo signal would function well unless you're in a very specific spot. So if your stuff's in a, you know, not completely in mono, but you do want to have it be mono compatible and mono friendly, I guess. At any rate, so now we're going to go to where this says inserts here, and I'm going to click this arrow. I don't want an insert there. I want to send. Crap. Effects channel. All right. Well, yeah, that worked differently than I was expecting it to. So what I'm going to do here is just going to drag these over. I can. Sweet. So this small reverb that I set up earlier, I basically am just going to duplicate that. I like to put a lot of my drum sounds through a small reverb just to give us a little sort of room field where it's not entirely dry. I'll name this one small verb instead of small reverb. So now this is set up as a send. Where's my hi-hat? It still didn't do what I wanted it to do. All right. Okay, I'm missing something here. Ah, there we go. The windows are a little weird on this. Okay, so let's bring those sends up a little higher. All right, so now, here we go. All right, so I can use that original small reverb I had. So this took me a minute to get used to as well. Instead of having like a fader that you can click on that opens up, it gives us this little slider here. And this is going to send, I put that on the wrong channel, small reverb. There we go. So now I'm just going to send that hi-hat. Make sure so my effects are all soloed. So now I'm just going to send this hi-hat to the reverb, just so we get a little more room sound in there, which we can hear now. Now, before that, I want to add a I'm just going to add a EQ to this, effects, EQ. And I'm just going to turn on this, there's something weird. This is like an actual, like a drum kit hi-hat sample, not like an electronic drum kit. So I'm getting this kind of weird frequency. This sort of low, there it is. This sort of range between like 300 and 500. There's a lot of boxy crud in there, and if you have too much of that from too many instruments layered on top of one another, it takes up unnecessary space and makes your mix sound kind of I don't want to say wimpy, but yeah, boxy is a word, and turn it down a little bit. And a lot of this part is just getting your ears trained to know what to listen to. StudioOne here, and I know Logic has this, and Ableton has it on their EQs, is the analyzer that's built into the EQ. When I was using Pro Tools, it did not have this, and I know some folks might think it's kind of a crutch, but you know, I just like being able to see where problems lie. So on this filter, I'm going to do a lot more gentle roll off at the low end. Just kind of take some of the super bass out of there, and then I'll swing through here and find something that's that going on now. Let's try this fat channel. Throw that on there since we got our sound sort of shaped. Pressor. So it gives us a tube or a FET, or just a standard digital. Let's go with FET. So this is our 1176 UA 1176 recreation. So on this compressor, it works a little different than a lot of standard compressors. Generally, the threshold starts at 0, and as you turn it down, it compresses more. You know, as you lower the threshold, more of the signal gets compressed. On this one, this is basically our input into the compressor. So you want to start on the left here, and then drive it until you're getting the effect you want. All right, so we have, how long have we been at this? 55 minutes, okay. So we've got that kind of grooving along here. Our hi-hat's cool. Let's work on this bass tom a little bit. I'm gonna throw that fat channel on there too. Let's see if we can beef up this guy a bit. Now, I will do a little bit of soloing to sort of shape a sound, but I generally don't like to rely on that start to finish, you know, because you kind of lose context for how it sits in the mix. But my pass, you know, I don't need a gate, so let's go to compressor. I'll just stick with the digital compressor here. Like a 3-to-1 ratio. I don't need any key input. So no compressor, compressor, let's check it with the mix. All right, I know another thing I want to do. A little compression on that bass, kind of kicked it in there. Let's go back to our acid bass. All right, so now we're gonna send this through the delay. So first we're going to go over to the delay, and like I said earlier, we're going to filter off all the low end, everything going. That's low frequency, low cut. That's what I'm after. Let's just take that up to about 200. So anything under 200, we're done with. We don't need it going through the delay. especially low frequencies, especially like 250 and under, we want to keep those in a mono configuration. I'm not sure if there's a built-in tool in Presonus here that allows us to do that. I know Logic has one, but we're not working with Logic today. So, all right. So we have our delay dialed in, and we can and this is another parameter that will automate throughout the track to give us some motion. Okay, so all right, so we have a little delay action going on there. Now for our pads, let's just drag this EQ over here. Instead of peaking, we can do a shelf, so I'll do like a 20 dB shelf. So on this pad, obviously we don't want this low end junk. We'll dial some of that out. We'll try it out with the rest of it too. Add our send to our big reverb. And let's turn down the amount here. So now we can go over to our big reverb. Did I not? Oh, there's the EQ. Come on, there we go. Turn that on. Our big verb, we can go up to like probably close to 500. And then same thing with the high frequencies. We don't need a lot of that super sizzly stuff, so you can take that down to just below 10K there. That's the stuff that hurts your ears when it's super loud for a really long time. It hurts my ears at least. Especially if there's like crappy MP3 conversion or less than scrupulous people that like rip tunes off of YouTube and play those, like all that aliasing and junk up there in the super high frequency range pains me. All right, so yeah, we had our EQ there, and then let's open up our room reverb. So this is our large tunnel sound. Go ahead and solo our pad. SY. I'm assuming that means asymmetrical since it's under the geometry. That kind of fills it out, gives it a nice little stereo range. I haven't done this yet. Save. Let's see. I keep a running list of song names since basically everything I write is instrumental. Of just ideas that strike me or things I see on like nature documentaries or something like that. So, all right, here we go. For our quarantine time, since we're all living in that, we'll just call this track The New Normal. StudioOne file, save as. New normal. All right. Got to keep with the times, right? Okay, so we have a little bit of reverb there. Now I'd like to maybe go back through this first drum kit that we put in place here. There we go. We'll just go full screen. I don't know why I didn't do that at the beginning. All right, what was I talking about? Okay, so we're going to scroll back over here. We're going to go to this very first drum machine that we set up, kick, because we had some other sounds in here. Take a look for some effects. I'm a huge fan of the ride cymbal, but this one sounds like poo. So if I'm going to add a ride, I'll probably add a different one. I hate long sounds like that. All right, impact clunk. So what we can do now is, all right, so what's that? F sharp 3. So impact clunk. Try and remember that. Just select. All right, stuff's getting away from me here. Okay, edit. That's what I'm after. Impact clunk. So what I'm going to do here is, that is way in the middle of the track. So earlier I had made a brief mention about knowing where your divisions of 8 are. So I'm going to put impact clunk. When I do this, let's say, let's throw one of these in every 16 bars. Now, the reason why we're doing this is not so much that it's a integral part of our track, so much as it, whoops, go away, 349. That's what we're going to do here. Just going to keep adding these every 16 bars or so. Pat's coming at 81. So what this does, I've heard it referred to as an ear reset. So while there's nothing structurally changing about the track, at least yet, what this does is just gives us a little sense of momentum, a sense of place. I don't know how to express that better into words. Um, but it's helpful for DJs to know, like, yes, this is the beginning of a 8-part measure or 8-bar measure, that sort of thing. Kind of breaks up the monotony. So that's something as I go through and work on the arrangement and automation in that we'll see is we're just taking our relatively simple in terms of compositionally or a relatively simple track and just doing some of these small little subtleties to give it a sense of movement and a sense of dynamics without altering the the feel or the groove that gives us that locked in techno feeling. Where was that last one? 45, so 61. Do more. 77. And that's going to be it for that. So now we can go back to the mix window because that is a little loud. Which one was that? So I'm just going to put clunk there. We'll again roll off some of the low end. Maybe add some reverb. Go big verb on that. Not a whole lot though, just a little bit. And some people like these effects to be big. I do not. I like them to be really subtle, like where you don't even necessarily notice them, but they sort of take effect. So, all right, so that one's probably good. Now let me more of those. Let's go out here to our loop. If you didn't catch that by listening, I added a little delay to that clunk sound that kind of fills us up nicely, takes up some of our space as well. We ran on time, 72 minutes. All right. Okay. Sorry, I forgot. I have the chat loaded up here on my other computer that I'm looking at. So Nashville Resistance, Taylor, what's up? Hypo, good to see you, dude. Yeah, turn up my camera volume. Not really. I think it's already up, but let me check my OBS settings real quick. Oh yeah, we'll turn that up. Sorry if y'all couldn't hear that. Back to the action. Okay. So, what should we do next? I guess we could start on some arrangement stuff. Let's just, yeah, let's not do that. Browse, edit. All right, so I'm sure you guys probably noticed that I put in like a little accent hi-hat. So what I'm going to do is go to the beginning of the track. I'm going to take out this little accent hi-hat for like 16 bars. We'll go up to, let's see. All right, so let's say at bar 65, I'm going to take all the hi-hats together out. We'll let that roll through till like, to bar 73. That's going to give us a lot more movement then. All right, so we'll drop out these hi-hats here. When we play through this, you'll sort of hear why I did some of that. All right, now for kicks, I don't like to take huge chunks of the kick drum out, but what I do like to do is every now and then, before one of our more major time markers or whatever, I'll just take one or two kick drums out of a measure, like you'll hear in just a second. Again, it's just another little ear reset, lets us know that we're coming up on a big movement, big movement in the track, or what could be a big movement or moment. Doesn't have to be. So let's take out this one as well. Alrighty, so let's see. All right, go back to our see if we have a different effect that we can add. Darn it. There was a tom that I was looking for way earlier in this segment. Yeah, a little distorted 909 tom makes a great bass line. All right, we'll do something fun here. So I love this chord stab here, and according to our description, it's in D minor, which is you know, a fifth up from G minor, so it musically fits theoretically. I'm not the most theoretical dude when it comes to music stuff, but I have taken, you know, a bunch of classes and stuff on it. But in terms of techno, you know, I'm not going crazy with modulations and theoretical stuff, but just trying to keep it basic. Yeah, this is going to work out nicely. So I'm just pasting this one little stab here for through sort of the, you know, the epic, the big meaty part of our track. Again, this probably isn't the most efficient way to do this, but I've developed some stuff that works for me over time, and that's kind of what I'm doing here. So 20. Yeah, let's keep going with that. Yes, just put the cursor there. There we go. All right, so that'll bring us up to where the other pads come in. Those go up to 145. All right, so that's kind of cool. Okay, so if you didn't hear what I had going on here, I'm kind of working through some arrangement stuff a bit. So we've got a fair amount of the track that muddles along. It gets to hear these pads come in. Let's just listen to a couple minutes of this and see where it should take us. Let's talk about that. Okay, that didn't work quite the way I thought it would. So that the chord stab I just added from the drum machine is also on the same audio channel as that clunk sound. So I'll have to, I want that particular part of the tune to be louder in the mix, so I'll have to go to the edit window and turn up the velocity on that particular note, which is back here. Let's think about this a different way. All right. I'll turn that velocity on just that particular stab all the way up. Go to the next window. So I'll automate this high cut to give that some life here in a bit. And I'll show you this part now, since I'll get into automation here pretty quickly, because yeah, I've been at this for like almost an hour and a half. I'm going to try and get as close as I can to being done in 2 hours. So for automation on StudioOne here, whatever plugin we're in, you can right click, control click on the Mac, edit automation, high cut frequency. Boom. So now that adds that to our automation lane. And we, for whatever, the sends should automatically populate on the automation, but if there's a particular plugin parameter that you want to automate, that is the method that we'll go through. So we can also go over here to S-Bass. That was the other one. Oops, open up. So I want to edit filter cutoff, edit release. Well, now that I have the rest of the track going, I really don't like this bass sound. That's a little better. And that definitely needs more delay. which is something I said I was going to automate too. But if we start that there, that'd be kind of cool. All right, so now we're getting somewhere. All right, so we're going to need a breakdown in our track somewhere. I think that's going to be in this second section of pads here. Edit. All right, so I'm going to take the kick and the hi-hat out of from bar 137 to 145 here. Well, 144, it's going to come back in at 145. I'm going to take this accent hi-hat out until it gets up to 153 here. Again, it's just these subtle shifts every 8 bars. It doesn't have to be like huge changes, but like one accent sound coming in or out every 8 bars like is really going to propel a track immensely. All right, so let's start here at like 113. Let's just play this. Play this for a minute and see how the breakdown's going to sound. Definitely going to volume automate that pad to where it comes in a lot more gradually. That's pretty severe. And the bass line can totally come out of that breakdown section as well. So that's going to be the sub bass, not the acid bass. Sorry. And you know what? I'm going to do another little trick here. I'm going to take that sub bass out to 54. 53, excuse me. All right, so okay, all right, so, oops, let's minimize that a bit here, scroll back to the beginning. All right, so I have our kick drum breakdown there. I had another little something or other breakdown here. I think think I wanted to add those chord stabs at that part. Let's go back up here, kick. Yes, I do mumble to myself when I'm making tracks all the time. There we are. So. All right, I'm feeling pretty close about this one. I probably will load up another drum machine, and as much as I hate doing them on every track, I think this track might actually need a hand clap. It's one of those things that's very typical on a ton of tracks out there, and I just try and shy away from doing it. I don't think it's necessary to have a boom clap on every single track like ever known to man. It's the concept's been played out. We've all heard it a million times before. I used to do like weird offbeat stuff with claps, and I used to try and get a lot more cerebral with my tracks than anyone was ever interested in. So trying to be clever, but DJs don't like it when you're too clever. So yeah, so now I just, I try to really distill it down to the most important elements just to capture a groove and keep it rolling. But I'll sprinkle some claps in. It's not going to be through the whole track, but I'll do a little bit. And then maybe that ride cymbal I was after earlier too. I'll find that and throw that in the big moments to hit the throw your hands in the air time. So yeah, let's tackle a little more on our arrangement here. So this acid bass doesn't need to start at the very beginning of the track. Since everything else is going there. So let's cut the acid bass out to like, oops. Definitely cut the first 8 bars out of that altogether. I actually kind of feel like I could probably go up to bar 17. Yeah, there we go. So our intro is just going to be that kick drum and the chugging sub bass with the hi-hat. And that hi-hat still sounds really tinny. All right. Let's do it. Let's add our silly, predictable, run-of-the-mill hand clap. So track, instrument track. Club, Electro, and Detroit Kit. There we go. This is presumably a 909 style. All right, that's as good a clap as any out there. Okay, so let's highlight a section here. Go to edit. We're going to start that hand clap at on bar 49. Heck, dude. All right, what am I missing here? No. That's what I'm missing. There it is. What happened there? Nope. Something definitely got screwed up there. All right, well, I know there's a way to cut and paste using the clips up here, but I haven't figured that out yet, so I'll just go back to doing what I actually know how to do in the interest of moving things along. And we'll take this all the way up to bar 65 when we have other interesting stuff that comes in. Come on, there you go. All right, so yay, hand claps. Now we can go back here. I'll 49. So for our hand clap here, I want to compress the crud out of this thing. So I just pulled up a percussion preset, and then we'll just sort of fiddle around with this a little bit here. Much higher ratio. Gain can stay at auto, but where's our tech? And then we'll send the clap through our small reverb. There we go. And a little character there now. Let's add an EQ to this. Now, for this particular clap, it seems a little thin and weedy to me, so I want to give it a little more meat. So, where are we at here? So on the EQ, I'm going to add a little more in this boxy zone where I was cutting stuff from other frequencies earlier. That'll kind of give this a better spot to sit in the mix. So there's before. Sorry, there's before. There's after. And we can also go back to our. Oh no, those decays are opened up all the way. All right, so I've got like 10 minutes left. So let's just draw in some automation here and see where we land. For automation, so we're going to go up here and this little line right here, this is our automation map for each track. So for the kick, I don't really want to automate anything on there. Wait, did I? No. Let's see, track 5. What's track 5? Oh, is that the clap we just added? Actually, one more thing before we get to automation. So now I'm going to take this clap section I just added. There you are. take those, copy and paste them in a couple strategic spots here. All right, so that's largely okay. All right, so automation. This acid base, I know we've turned on some automation parameters for that. So, all right, so here is on each of these channel strips here, where it says auto off, what we're going to want to do is change that to read for the stuff that we have automation planned for. These are the automation modes. There's off, which anything I draw in won't do anything. Read, which as the cursor scrolls through the timeline, it will read the automation and react. Latch will grab onto whatever value it is at a point and keep it at that. Write is if you had a MIDI controller set up and wanted to real-time record that stuff in, you would use the write mode. So let's see, I've got those. Let's turn that on for the clap. Turn it on for the clunk. I think that was it. All right, so now we can go up here, turn on our automation, and then let's see. So let's zoom in a little here. A little too much. All right, there we go. So for this top drum machine, I had a high frequency filter enabled that I think was on that stab that I added. So what I'm going to do here is bring that high frequency down to like, and it'll tell you what the value is here on the screen. So I don't, 20 hertz, we're not going to hear that. But if I bring that down to like 400 hertz, it should give that stab a little more creepy fade-in sound. There we go. And then I'm going to sort of fade that out at the end a bit too. A bit more than that. And then my tie, what I want to fade in here is, so you can also go to what I just clicked here. Let me try that again, where it says display off and then add or remove. So we're going to add, let's see, strength, master gain. Oh, so this is every parameter on that plugin. I can add those as I see fit. I'll just do master gain because I just want to sort of fade in the did I not enable? I did. Okay, I'm missing something here. What am I missing? Blacked out. All right, let's try this. Edit automation volume. There we go. Okay, I thought volume populated automatically, but apparently that was not the case. So we'll take this little pad here and kind of make that fade in. Aid, first person, good to see you online, buddy. StudioOne, yeah, it's interesting. This is my work laptop that I'm working off of here, and I had StudioOne on here for a while and figured I needed to acquaint myself with it, so I'm having a go at it here. It's not bad. I mean, it's like any other DAW, it does the same stuff. It's just getting the hang of some of the nuances in it, but it's functional. All right, so there's our big epic break. I said we were gonna do a little bit with this acid line here. I think I can be even a little more dramatic with that. Just extending the release on that acid bass a bit here to and I think I also have a resonance in there. Oh, cutoff. Duh. Buddy loves a good filter sweep. I'll draw some other little filter sweeps throughout this track too, just to, you know, give it a little life and some of the less dynamic parts. Too much there. All right, just gonna do a quick save here because, hey, don't want to lose any of this work should something catastrophic happen. All right, what else was I talking about? Oh yeah, doing some other little filter sweeps for the acid part. Let's go back here and throw in just a little subtle thing. Not everything's got to be huge. Just gotta, like I was saying before, just gotta keep it moving. Just have some sort of flow where it's not the entirely same thing all the time. Is that where the stabs come in? I think it is. Yeah, I don't want to do anything there. All right, and then at the end we can fade that out. Bass tom. I don't think I had anything to automate on that one. Got the pads built up a little bit there. Let's go back here for a bit and take a listen. So it'd help if I turn the loop off. All right. All right, so I just also added automation parameter for the delay on this acid bass. So now we can get kind of funky with that. So I kind of like to just put some markers in at my known divisions of 8. That way when I'm drawing stuff in, I know where it needs to sort of settle down by or be active around. All right, one more thing here, and I think I'm going to call it a session on this one. I don't want to say I'll call it a day because I might come back to it later tonight, but I'm about out of gas here for one session, and I have to pee here pretty soon too. And I don't want to just stand up and walk away and not leave anything happening, so I'm going to exit out of my automation window, and I am going to add my favorite ride symbol in here since I found a sample on this drum machine that I liked. So back to 45. We'll start right there. Is this right? Yes, that is right. Okay, so let's loop this section here. EQ this ride up, and then I'm ready to play it start to finish. And like I said, I'll be calling it a day after that one for this session. So file, save, loop on. So we're like 90% there. Yeah, I thought I'd be a little better at this, but maybe I'll do one in Logic Pro one of these days, and because I can zip around through that a lot faster. I'm still acquainting myself with a lot of what StudioOne has to offer. But let's see. So what do we got for mix tool now? All right, so I'm just going to throw one of these fat channels on the main output, and I'll just sort of doctor it up a bit here. Get too heavy-handed on this. Is on the master bus. I put this on just to give us a little something. And then limiter. Just to tame any peaks that get by. Okay, so I'm going to rewind this, take that out. Like I said, I'm going to call this a day here, but I'm going to rewind this, play this one, start to finish. Leave a comment if you like what I got going on here, or if you have any more questions, let me know. Again, I'm not like a total expert at StudioOne, but I figured this would be a fun little exercise. I've been in kind of a creative slump since the whole COVID-19 quarantine situation, so kind of forcing myself to do different things and work in different ways gets me engaged and keeps me interested. So yeah, here we go, start to finish. And I forgot to add like some automation fades at the end here, but you get the point. All right, y'all.